Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, amma ba'd. Beloved brothers and sisters, continuing on controversial subjects where there's more than one opinion in the matter, we want to listen to the different opinions and see where we get to or what's closer to us. One of the subjects that always comes up is there's a certain time of the year where we hear something called the Mawlid, celebrating, quote unquote, the birthday of the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. So some people will jump and say it's a bid'ah. Some people will jump and say that it's haram. And some people that say, how dare you not celebrate it? You hate the Prophet ﷺ for not celebrating it. People that say, do it because you love the Prophet ﷺ, and people that don't do it, hate the Prophet ﷺ. And some people say, no, you're not supposed to do it. The Prophet ﷺ never celebrated al-Mawlid and it's haram and it's a bid'ah and only this group or that group does it. So where does the truth lie? Before we start, we need to back up a little bit and ask ourselves a very important question. The date the Prophet ﷺ was born, call it Mawlid, call it the date of his birth, call it its birthday, call it XYZ day, whatever you, Memorial Day, whatever you want to call it, the day that he was born. Who is the first or person or first group or first denomination to celebrate it? The Prophet ﷺ was born on this date. Who is the first group of people or denomination or group or whatever that started to celebrate the birth of the Prophet ﷺ on a regular basis? The first person was the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ was asked, why do you fast on Mondays? And he mentioned a couple of reasons. One of the reasons he mentioned was, I was born on Monday. So I love to fast the day that I was born in. Let me say it again. We have a hadith that is sahih, Sahahu al-Albani, and Bin Baz talks about it. And so it's sahih 100%. In which the Prophet ﷺ says, one of the reasons I love to fast on Mondays is because that's the date that I was born. So I love to celebrate the date that I was born by specifying a form of worship on that day. So if someone chooses to celebrate the day the Prophet ﷺ was born, we cannot say that it's a bid'ah, it's an innovation. Okay? Second thing, my brothers and sisters, some people are sensitive from the word Eid. The word Eid. Because the Prophet ﷺ says there's only two Eids. There's only two Eids. So how can you call it Eid al-Mawlid? There's two answers. One, that there's nothing wrong with calling it al-Eid, but I'm not going to go there for now. I'm going to go with the first part, which is, don't name it Eid. If we choose a day when the Prophet ﷺ was born, and we want to celebrate it by bringing our children to do dhikr of the Prophet ﷺ and pray on him, on the Prophet ﷺ, and study the life and the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ and the heroism and how a wonderful parent he was and a wonderful husband he was and a wonderful leader he was and the greatest prophet and messenger that he was ﷺ, and we want our children and everybody to love him. On that day, don't call it Eid, just call it celebrating the Prophet ﷺ. Then we agree that the action itself is 100% correct. Somebody might say, but there are certain denominations that worship, I'm just going to loosely say it, worship graves on that day. If you worship the grave on a Monday or a Friday or an Eid al-Mawlid or Eid al-Adha or Ramadan, if it's haram, it's haram. It has nothing to do with that day. So don't make it haram because somebody on that day did something that you think is haram. The question is about the Mawlid. The day the Prophet ﷺ was born, can I celebrate that day? Or can I specify a specific day each year to pray on the Prophet ﷺ and teach his life and teach this and whatever? The answer is yes. Let me rephrase that statement. Is it okay for you and me? You and me are free on the weekends. Let's say Saturday and Sunday is our holiday. Is it okay for you and me and our families every Saturday between Maghrib and Isha to have a family night in the masjid? And we come there and eat dinner together, and between Maghrib and Isha to have a dars and read the Quran? Everybody will say yes. Can we do it once a month? Everybody will say yes. Can we do it once a year? Yes. Can that once a year we, instead of studying the Quran, study the life of the Prophet ﷺ and pray on the Prophet ﷺ once a year? Yes. You just said no, it is halal. Can we sit and memorize the Quran after Fajr every Friday? Because I'm free that time. Yes, well, all of us will come to the masjid and memorize the Quran. Can we do it once a week? Yes. And after we finish the Quran, for example, can we bring our families and eat together and celebrate together? Yes. Do you have any proof? Yes. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, one of the greatest Sahaba, he used to complete the Quran on a regular basis, and when he completed it, he would bring his family members all together, and they would recite, they would, make dua and have a big meal and a celebration with it. So I think the sensitivity is not on the Islamic perspective, it's on the different groups and different denominations. So there's nothing wrong, my beloved brothers and sisters, to choose a day, once a week, once a month, once a year, where people come together, study the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ, read about the Prophet ﷺ, praise the Prophet ﷺ, even if they choose to fast that day, even if they choose to be more generous and give to the poor, there is nothing wrong with it. We also explained in a different session about the bid'ah, that it's not a form of a bid'ah. Bid'ah is not that, there are things that are general. Donations and giving to the poor is something that's general. Fasting is something that's general. The dhikr is something that's, praying on the Prophet ﷺ is something that's general. Allah says you can do it. He didn't say you only do it on this times. You could do it whenever you want. So if you choose to do it on a specific day, especially, there's nothing wrong with that, because you're allowed to do it at any time and any day. So I cannot restrict what Allah has made unrestricted or general. أقول هذا القول واستغفر الله العظيم لكم من كل ذنب فاستغفروه غفور رحيم.